Hey y'all, and welcome to Politibrawl. My name is Brian, and Representative McIver just sticks her foot in her mouth, and of course is someone like Eli Crane to ask the real questions and reveal the truth before Congress. Let's dive in.
I first want to start off by just advising that witnesses should definitely come here with the facts. One of the witnesses today stated that I was arrested, and that's a complete lie, and I want to put that on the record. Mr. Chairman, this hearing is a sham, and a complete disgrace. Just because Republicans don't want to see it doesn't mean it's not true. The charities the majority is targeting are doing the Lord's work, quite literally. Republicans are trying to misrepresent and undermine and attack the work of these charities due to assist the most vulnerable and underserved, all while quoting scripture from the Bible. No matter what narrative my colleagues across the aisle try to spin, the truth is that these religious organizations and other nonprofits are not political. They seek to provide aid to those who are fleeing violence and seeking asylum. And I am sorry that Republicans are trying to intimidate you and prevent you from carrying out this critical work. I am appalled that this hearing is being used as an attempt to target religious organizations and prevent them from serving their communities in accordance with their faith. Meanwhile, the Republican majority has not done an ounce of oversight of the Trump administration, even as Trump and his administration tear apart DHS.
The chair recognizes the gentleman from Arizona, Mr. Crane, for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for holding this hearing today on how NGOs facilitated the Biden border crisis. You can see our colleagues are very upset that we're having this hearing today. They don't want to talk about this stuff. They don't want to talk about the 300,000 kids that we still don't know where they are. They're upset that President Trump got elected. They're upset that he's doing exactly what he said he was going to do, and we're backing him up here in Congress. This is what the American people voted for because they saw 4 years of the carnage that these open border policies plagued on the United States. And we're talking about the NGOs that they used as middlemen to carry out their operations, like the Catholic charities they used to facilitate, normalize, and accelerate illegal immigration into this country. Ms. Hopper, you've worked closely with trafficking victims and survivors. I'd like to explore the role that the NGOs have played in enabling the trafficking and exploitation of unaccompanied alien children. Under the last administration, what safeguards were put in place to protect vulnerable unaccompanied children?
I previously discussed the post-placement welfare checks, which consisted of 2 phone calls. Again, if the sponsor didn't answer, the case was no longer followed up on. But there was also a notice of concern hotline where people could report concerns about the unaccompanied child's safety. But what this administration found was from August 2023 to January of 2025, 65,000 calls went unanswered. Those calls spanned from, complaints about stale bread all the way to being abused, to one case where a child's call was reporting that grown men were coming into his room at night and they were Nothing happened with that call. That call went unanswered until this administration took office, went through those 65,000 calls, made follow-ups, conducted a welfare check, and now that child has been rescued and that sponsor has been arrested. These are the safeguards that were put in place, but accountability and oversight was not had.
So you're telling this committee that the Biden administration, while they were letting all of these unaccompanied minors into the country, and as we've talked about today, they weren't keeping track of them, they issued these kids a hotline that they could call if they had trouble with the sponsor family that they were put with. And you're saying that 65,000 calls to this hotline designated to protect these kids went unanswered? Is that what you're telling this committee?
Yes, sir.
Think about it, guys. This is exactly why the American people are so upset. This is why they voted for the president, and this is why they voted for this agenda. to not only remove people from this country, to secure our borders, but to find these kids. I mean, this is completely atrocious in a day and age where we're starting to wake up to the realities of trafficking and what's going on with these kids. They let all these kids in. We still don't know where over 300,000 of these kids are. And you're sitting here testifying, saying that they gave a hotline for these kids to report if they were okay, if they needed anything, and 65,000 calls went unanswered. Do you know how many staffers the administration assigned to answering these phones and helping these kids?
One.
One staffer? Unbelievable.
Sometimes anger doesn't just burn like a fire. Instead, it's that frozen to a metal pole feel. It's cold, it hurts, it lingers, and you remember it. That's the kind of anger that's rising here when I hear about these stories. And to make matters even more insane, more rage-inducing, was the beginning segment of this video, when Representative McIver was clutching her pearls and saying, "Won't you think of all the good charities that you're doing? You need to quote some scripture." Hey, y'all. What if I told you that most collagen products aren't just a waste of money? They could be loaded with toxins that lead to skin issues, heart problems, and even cognitive decline. Sounds scary, but it's true. See, collagen is the most abundant protein found in the body, and our natural supply runs lower as we age. That's why so many people are turning to collagen to help with joint pain, bone health, and even look years younger. But here's the catch. You have to know what you're looking for, or you might be doing your body more harm than good. So before you buy another tub off of Amazon or from your local store, go check out the top 5 collagen warnings that every American needs to see, and take advantage of this special offer. It's a real quick read that can help save your health and your wallet. Right now, get a special bundled deal at a fraction of retail costs, plus free shipping. This offer is only available at getnativepath.com/brawl. That's GETNATIVEPATH.com/brawl. Here's one. I went back, just briefly read back over the Beatitudes. That's a really good place to start. By the way, we need to, preachers in the audience, we got to go back and start teaching out the Beatitudes again, because we keep on forgetting that's kind of what we're supposed to do. I've got my own interesting relationship with the Lord, but you can see the Christian iconography above me here. You can tell which way I believe. And nowhere in what I read or study ever is it considered a good idea to take away money and resources from people, give it to another authority so they can give it to a charity, so they can give it to someone who might be your neighbor. That's not what is taught. What is taught is you do it. That's our job. It should not be the government's job to basically fund all these charities. Sometimes it's necessary, though. And in this case that Eli Crane is talking about, this witness, by the way, I'm going to get into who this witness is in a moment. But these charities that McIver is clutching her pearls about has received no accountability from the federal government, which needed to have accountability. These organizations needed it because they weren't doing a good job. And so I harp on this a lot, but the reality is Democrats love bureaucracy. And when bureaucracy fails, Democrats have no ability and no accountability to take responsibility. They have no incentive to do it whatsoever because their voters do not care. Because their voters fall into 3 categories. Apathetic, where they just don't know what's going on and don't really care. Then there's the, we're actually doing the right thing. Inviting all these people to come across the border, it shows how great we are as Americans. Sure. But then there's a third category that I start to encounter more and more often, particularly among the young. They're angry, and they want the United States to fail, and so they enjoy the idea of the Cloward and Piven strategy fully coming to fruition, and they don't care how many children are hurt in the process. It is baffling, and it is rage-inducing, And then when you actually hear the stories that this witness is talking about, this is who this witness is. Okay, Ali Hopper. Ali's expertise has driven significant policy change, including the creation and passage of Florida's 2023 anti-grooming bill, which protects children from exploitation and serves as a model for similar legislation across the country. In other words, this is someone who is actually at an organization dedicated to finding these problems and figuring out how to fix them. And of course, that's the Republicans talking about this issue, not the Democrats. Republicans are more logistics based. We are. When I would work I've worked in a couple of warehouses in my young life. And in both cases, all of the ones in logistical management were huge Republicans. All the people in inventory, huge Republicans. The people working the line, Democrats. The people working in the cozy front offices, usually a mix, but usually more Democrats than Republicans. The higher up the chain you go, the more Republican you got. So it's interesting to note that the people who are actually tasked with dealing with real-world issues are naturally more logic-based. Democrats continue to think out of the idea of utopia, that how do we achieve it? Well, they lack the steps to get to utopia, so they keep blaming Republicans that they're getting in the way. It is a sad thing to think about, but that's the nice version of this story. And instead of someone like McIver taking a little bit of responsibility and admitting, yeah, we screwed up, one, they can't do it, and two, people like her don't think that she did anything wrong. That's why she did indeed get arrested, because she kept on throwing hands with officers in broad daylight in front of an ICE facility. And she has received absolutely no blowback from that whatsoever, which means either the left-stream media is really good at running point for these people, or her voters just don't care, or worse, they like it. We are in a very tumultuous era of American politics. Part of it's the internet, but part of it is just the sheer weight of a system that has started to fail a little bit. We're starting to see the cracks. Instead of filling in the cracks and getting out the pumps to pump out the water on this sinking ship, the Democrat Party is blocking us from getting at the pumps and getting at the cracks and saying it's our fault they're there to begin with. It is absolutely insane, and instead of having people like Ali Hopper working on legislation and actually listening to their testimony, people like Representative McIver would rather whistle past the graveyard, kick the can down the road, whatever proverbial set of words that you want to use here, that's what's going on. Eli Crane, on the other hand, wants results. It's clear to see who are the people that actually care about these United States, and of course, the people who have been victimized by a trafficking system that has been exploiting them for decades. You be the judge on that one. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. My name is Brian. Hope you enjoyed that segment here on Politibrawl. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Catch you on the next one. And if you want to be a member, if you want to be a Politibrawler, consider signing up for a monthly subscription. We give specific content catered directly to you. I might be the flashy center fielder, but I've got a great team, great starting pitchers behind me, doing the extra work, putting in the innings. They're the ones that really make this work, and your memberships can go a long way to supporting this channel for the long term. So until next time, y'all have a good one.